afternoon and welcome everyone. Happy New Year, and here we are in 2021. So we're ready to kick off our first printTHINK webinar series of the year. We appreciate you joining us at TLMI with this. We will be featuring UPM Raflatac. We appreciate them for being willing to present today, and going to turn it over to Doug Bartlett and Jeff Buchanan. Thank you and enjoy.
All right. Thank you, Lene. Welcome, everybody. We're excited about starting this printTHINK series in 2021. Welcome back to those who were able to join us in the last sessions we've had. We're going to continue these on. We'll be doing it monthly, at least that's the plan for now. We have several good things lined up for you. Today we're going to talk with UPM, and we have some good information about sustainability and innovative products and how to use them in the press room. So without any further delay, I guess I want to tell you one thing, that would be to ask questions. You can put those into the box on the side. I will gather them all together and we'll go over questions after Jeff's presentation. But from my perspective, we're ready to go. So Jeff, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thanks Doug, thanks Lene, I appreciate it. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, I'll take that as we're ready to go, and I'll just take you through the presentation here. So again, thanks everybody for attending today. I appreciate the opportunity to be one of the first here to do the TLMI webinars. This is a great opportunity for all of us to get together and making the most out of the COVID environment we're in today and continue to be in. It's, you know, we're using all of these means differently than we used to, but it's great to get together for a few minutes today. So this is my picture a couple of years ago in pre-COVID beard. So I'm home office a lot, and so haven't been shaving as much as I once did. And my beard is fully white. Lene and I were talking about that earlier, and it's part of the process, I suppose. But it's little different than the picture you see there. But again, I'm the director of paper laminates business for the Americas. I've been with Raflatac now for a little over 5 years. All my career's been in the pulp and paper industry in various functions, so pretty excited to be here today. So today we're advancing here. Okay, here we go. So today we're going to talk about innovations in sustainable paper laminates and sustainable labeling. With the topic today, we talked as we kind of led into this. With the overall umbrella topic being sustainability, we're going to talk a little bit about some specific innovations that are out there today from Raflatac and others in sustainable labeling and how it might fit for your customer. So we'll hit on sustainability and where we are today, some comments about the market, some specific innovations to offer, a little bit more about sustainability than just the substrates, and then we'll wrap up with just a couple of comments on running sustainable laminates. And then from there, I think we go into a 15-minute or so, however much time we have left, question and answer. If for some reason we don't get to all the questions today, we'll get a list of those and I'll follow up after the fact. So that's today's agenda. So a little bit of setup here on the next couple of slides. So this is where we are today. We've got some serious challenges in front of us. I think we all can agree on that. There's a few different components to sustainability. The environmental responsibility itself, and whether, you know, without you know, being political here at all, somewhere between doing the right thing and global warming is kind of where the range of this discussion goes. All of that really kind of sums up in the idea to me of environmental responsibility, and that's throughout the whole process here, doing the right thing and just kind of leaving it at that. So starting with environmental responsibility, knowing that the world's growing, you know, we're fortunate to be in an industry that is growing, and from that regard, we're going to need more materials. The world needs more of our materials, and we need to have solutions for that. And then Adding to that, resources are limited. You know, we're using renewable resources, and that's a great thing, particularly about paper. Some great things going on in film labeling as well. But at the end of the day, the resources are limited, whether it's supply and demand or just having the resources. Period. There's a lot there. So all that adds up to some serious challenges. These challenges only get more serious and bigger as we go forward. So we as an industry are really challenged to solve these issues. And I'm quite proud of the label industry, the pulp and paper industry, and the leadership that we've really been putting forward, particularly the last couple, 3 years. So one of the places to always start with sustainability is, how do you define sustainability? And this has been one of the bigger learnings that we've all had over the last few years, is it's not a clear definition. You can see some things there on the list, and I won't go through them all, but it's whether it's raw materials or waste, you know, whether it's getting the material to the customer. Some people even talk about financial viability as part of their sustainable definition. There's a wide range of definitions for sustainability, and it's very important for us as a substrate supplier, talking to many of you, the label converters, and then extremely important going to the end user to just say, okay, now how do you define sustainability? What are you looking for? And that's really where it has to start, because without a clear definition, we don't know where to go next. So we can talk more about that as time goes on, but I hope you'll all take away from today that, you know, just taking a pause for a second and asking a question of just, you know, how do you really define sustainability is really where the conversation needs to start. So I don't know if the audio is going to work here. We had some issues in the queue up here. If it doesn't, the audio will be in the link, or sorry, there will be a link in the chat that you can get to the audio later. But this is a commercial that ran. This is Amazon's commercial, and it ran during the holidays. It started around, I don't know, Thanksgiving or before. And this is Amazon's commercial that they put out to the world as it relates to sustainability. So I'm going to play this through. If you don't have audio, my apology, and I encourage you to listen to it if you haven't before. All right. I don't know if you guys got audio or not on that, so apologies if you didn't, but I want to go through a couple of the themes that were there, because this is what Amazon put out to, you know, us, the shareholders, us, the user, for how they see sustainability. A couple of themes that they commented on here. They're running out of time. I think that's a very common theme around sustainability throughout throughout industry and other industries, is there is a timestamp here. Amazon they have a goal to be carbon neutral by 2040. We'll talk a little bit about what that means as we go forward here. But that's, you know, 2040 seems like a long time away, but it really isn't, particularly when you look at the challenges that they've got. This is what really jumps out to me. And while this commercial wasn't about label stock or really even about packaging, I think this guy sums it up pretty well. Is we're going there by 2040, but we have no idea how we're going to get there. And I think that's really what comes onto our shoulders is you know, they're looking for ideas, whether it's Amazon or many others I'll mention in a second. They're looking to us for ideas of how to get there, and that's us as a industry leadership group. I think we can certainly take the industry in a way that we want them to go, but more importantly in a way that's truly sustainable and measurable. A couple other themes that he had in there that I do chuckle a bit about. It's going to be hard. Yeah, I think that goes without saying. Interestingly, he says one way or another. Now that's that's a phrase we all use, and I don't know if that's just part of the way he says things or if Amazon means that, but I think knowing Amazon and their mass, they do mean that one way or another, and I think we should all take that as a challenge. And then the last part, and it's about doing what's right for the environment. It's trying to make things right for the next generation. So I get that. I have 2 kids in college, and that's really a big part of what we're here for, is to make the world right for the next generation. So hopefully, I appreciate you guys humoring me there for a second to go through Amazon's statement, but I don't think when it comes to our industry, there's a bigger statement for us to learn from than looking at Amazon. There's a few others though. So L'Oreal, we all know L'Oreal and their brand. They want by 2025, which is just around the corner, folks. They want 50% of their plastics will either be of recycled origin or biosourced. Now we got a long way to go to get there, but that's where they want to go. Coca-Cola, they make it very clear, they're committed to growing their business, but not growing their carbon emissions. That's if you go through Coca-Cola's website and sustainability information, they're quite clear that the carbon footprint is a big part of what they do. Then IKEA being a third brand here to think about, they're all about the circular economy. So how can we recycle? How can we reuse? How can we limit our impact on actual raw materials? So that's 3 big brands that we all know well. The one thing that I challenge our team with, and I challenge everyone here today as a collective industry, is this is 4 different big brands websites. So I snipped this right off their website. Project Gigaton, many of us will know that's Walmart's sustainability initiative. Unilever has a sustainable living initiative. Costco, you can see their sustainability commitment, and then P&G has their sustainability commitment as well. So on their websites, you can go to a landing page, and sometimes it's several landing pages that quite clearly tells exactly what their sustainability initiatives are. And as an industry, if we go to those websites and see what they're after, there are places on there where it says we want recycled material, or we want to reduce our carbon footprint or something like that. But a lot of times it just says we want to be more sustainable. And so, it's really incumbent on us to go to any end user we can and learn how they define sustainability, and then the steps they're taking to get there. And I think we become a big part of that. So the big theme we were here today to talk about, with that being our setup, is some innovation in paper laminates. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm the director of the paper laminates business. I'm going to be talking about paper today primarily, so apologies if you're looking for some film comment. Certainly we can come back to that at another day. But from a paper laminates perspective, I wanted to go through a little bit about how we at Raflatac look at sustainability in paper laminates. But I really think this does apply non-commercially over the whole label industry and the label stock industry particularly. So when we look at our sustainability profile, we do life cycle analysis of our materials, and we look at it from the energy use, the water use, and the carbon footprint. So I got 4 different examples there I want to go through, and we can come back to these more if you have specific questions. But the one on top is what you might say is a standard semi-gloss label, all temp, adhesive, and a standard 40-pound paper liner. So if we take that standard semi-gloss construction, we take that to a sustainable construction, and you can see with the star at the bottom there, sustainable to us means fully FSC certified. It means engineered properties, and it means that it's produced in a factory that uses 100% renewable electricity or energy. So that's how we define sustainable for what it's worth. I think similar definitions again maybe at some of the other label stock producers. But if you go from a standard product to a sustainable product but similar construction, you can see that we have a good energy reduction. We have a reasonable water reduction and then a 13% reduction in carbon emissions. Taking that another step further, and this is one thing I wanted to really point out today, because sometimes folks ask for recycled content, sometimes they just ask for sustainable content. And I wanted to point out that the recycled content, at least in the way we do life cycle analysis, doesn't give quite the sustainability footprint from the energy, water, and carbon perspective. It's helping in some other ways, but it doesn't give quite the footprint that you might see above. So comparing 1 and 2 there, those are fairly similar constructions, but a little bit less of a footprint there, reduction from the recycled content. Contrast that to the next one, which is really quite exciting for us. This is a standard semi-gloss all temp and a PET liner. So something that might be used at a big brand. Taking that to a sustainable face, same adhesive, and going to a PCR PET liner, we see our best sustainability profile there from an energy, water, and carbon footprint perspective. So great product. It's really does a really nice job from a sustainability perspective. And when someone really wants to make a big impact on sustainability, these type products are what's out there to offer. The last one, think about this as your, more your 4x6 labels. This is a retail face, direct thermal paper liner going to a sustainable retail and sustainable paper liner. We're showing there 17% on energy, 14 on water, and 14% on carbon reduction. So just wanted to highlight this as we think truly about innovations in paper laminates and laminate stock. We're going from a standard product to the sustainable product. We do have some defined benefits here that we as an industry can show, that we can hand to the bigger brands to show that the label stock itself is making a difference in their sustainability platform or profile. So I wish I could pause here for questions, but we'll keep trucking, and we'll do the questions at the end. Specific to Raflatac, so we have 3 different families of products. We have the Rafnext line, which is our carbon footprint sustainable product. We have the label loop, which is our recycled content, and then within the family of our sustainable products, we're FSC certified, and we align with the FSC processes and procedures to make sure that everything we use in these families of products are FSC certified. So I think, again, from the other label stock suppliers, you'll find a similar offering with straddled in some form or fashion of this. So, but it's not just about the product and not just about the laminate that you're making. And this is an area that I really want us to think about a bit more, because as I mentioned in the beginning slides, sustainability really is a mindset, and it's about doing everything we can do to be more sustainable as an industry. So a few different things to think about here. I know matrix and liner recycling is very much an ongoing topic, and TLMI is taking a leadership on. It is becoming more accessible, and that's exciting to see, because that's been a big limitation. There are PET and paper liner options, so let's not, whatever liner you've got, there's options out there to recycle. Please come to myself or TLMI or others in the industry if you want to get serious about thinking about liner recycling. And then we're big on upcycling. So there's the downcycling, which is taking it and putting it into an energy pellet or something like that. We really want to take these materials and make them into something that's at least as good as what they were or better. And that's really the mindset that we at Raflatac have, and at UPM in general. The second one there on the left side is one that gets overlooked very often, but it's been a big topic of discussion, certainly through the period of longer lead times, through the period of being real busy the last few months that I know we all have been. increasing our pallet density is a big step forward from a sustainability perspective. If you want to think about that a bit further, and you know, we'd be happy to work with companies to explore this further, but it's less deliveries per month. It's less pallets that go into the waste stream. It's less wrapping waste. You know, those should be fairly obvious, but it's really a big step forward. There are ways to put numbers on it. We can certainly take a look at that a bit further. But there's a big step forward in terms of sustainability if you think about just getting more laminate with each load. So happy to support further there. And then there's lots of other ideas. I mentioned earlier we've gone through renewable energy for our energy stores. I know a lot of label converters have as well. That's a great option that's out there and something for you to advertise. There's a lot of companies right now where you can do it yourself that look at optimizations of water and lighting. You know, modernizations, there's big energy savings and you know, improving your modernization of your lighting. Labels per roll, you know, it's less, you know, less cores. It's you know, longer runs. It's more, you know, more rolls or more labels per roll per shipment. It's really a step forward in the right direction. Negative impact of freight, you know, again, if we're doing, if you think about getting more labels on a pallet, then that's less freight over the period of a year, and that's a sustainable step forward. We strive to use certified fibers wherever possible. I'll caveat that a bit in that there's not quite enough certified fibers for everything that we all might need, but certified fibers are becoming more and more available, and we're all offering more and more certified options on a regular basis. There's a few label sites, label converters that are also certified as FSC. If you're interested in that, please ask us or one of the other label stock converters or label stock suppliers, and perhaps we can support you in thinking about becoming certified yourself. And then, you know, TLMI is all about collaboration and partnership. That's one of the things I've loved about TLMI since I got to Raflatac 5 years ago is we all work together for the betterment of the industry. And I really, you know, can't say enough about the friends and the partnerships that we all make in the industry that does this for us. So those are a few other ideas outside the box. Lastly, the last couple of slides here, I just want to talk a little bit about some operational considerations. So with sustainable labeling, you're very often changing the thickness. I think that's pretty well known. One thing that we've found though is if the thickness change is minimal and managed, the tooling changes are fairly minimal. We've had people who have put our sustainable laminates on with tooled material that, or to their tooling they were running before, and it ran fine. We at Raflatac, whether it's sustainability or any other option you're looking at, we always recommend that you look at your tooling and make sure the tooling matches the substrate. That avoids a lot of problems down the road. Printing and drying, you know, again, we say really with sustainable labeling, sustainable substrates, it's really, you know, it's all about doing a sample. Make sure it dries the same, make sure it prints the same. We believe ours to do that, but you know, it's again something we would want to trial together in support of you all and make sure that it prints and dries and behaves just like it did before. Strength could be reduced on the paper faces, although we've been quite pleased with what we've found there and the strength of the materials and how they convert and how they die cut. So something to be aware of, you know, if you put it on press and you run it at the same speed you were before, there could be a learning curve. So let's just make sure again we work together to make sure there's no impact there. Roll diameters are different. You know, they could be quite a bit smaller, or they could be, excuse me, just a really small amount of caliper change. But you know, we want to be aware of that both in the incoming material as well as the outgoing material. And if the right products are chosen, really got a lot of learning over the last year and a half here, that we believe that that sustainable label stock can perform just the same as what you're doing today. And as more time goes by, the more excited we get about the opportunities there to really be able to show the same performance that you were used to with your standard products. We're pretty excited about being able to show very similar performance on sustainable label stock. So last slide here, wrapping up. So the time for sustainable labeling is now. You know, sustainability has been a great topic. It's been a good idea. It's been something folks wanted to talk about for the last several years. But the shift that we started seeing in, let's say, the end of 19, somewhere around that period of time, is the brands started being more insistent on it. People started understanding more about what sustainability meant, and through COVID even, and I'm quite proud at Raflatac that we stayed focused on key topics like sustainability, even as we were making our way through the unknowns of COVID. The time is now for sustainable labeling. I think in 2021, we can lead the end users and lead the industry forward for sustainable labeling. The pull is certainly there. Product development, product innovation has certainly closed the gap, and we're excited about the performance that's out there. Operational issues that we've seen in the past from weaker substrates and those sort of problems, I think those have largely been addressed, and you know, performance now is very good on press. And then, you know, last comment here before we get into question and answers is we should always be looking for ways to be more sustainable. That's part of what we're here to do, is to again, as the guy in the video said, is to leave things better for the next generation. And we should never miss an opportunity as an industry or as a company or as a human to be more sustainable. So with that, I hope I haven't talked too fast. It's really tough talking to a screen here and not getting any feedback. So I hope it's come across and you guys have gotten the information. And I thank you, and Raflatac thanks you, and TLMI thanks you.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, it came across great for me, right on time. Appreciate that. Do have a couple of questions here for you, so we'll get right into those. The first one is sustainability is great, but what about being recyclable once the recipient gets it? Liners are not yet recyclable without collection and using the closed loop systems offered.
Good question. So out on the liner recycling part, liner is recyclable if it goes into the right streams. Mm-hmm. So it does need to go to someone that's set up. So if we're talking paper liner, it needs to go to someone who's set up to handle the silicone coatings. But there are a few options out there to be able to do that. And in some of the, I didn't get too much into label loop today, but label loop is actually using material that is from the collected stream of liners. So that's the closed loop, that's bringing the material back. That's a tremendous innovation we've been working on the last few years. And that is actually going to a recycler that has the ability to handle the silicone and make sure that it's not an impact. This really pains me as the paper guy, but PET is much more recyclable than paper in that regard. PET, there's a very wide network. It's easy to take it in, and there's folks that really want it to recycle it and turn it back into products.
Okay. Another question here. I know you're the paper guy, so this might not be your specialty, but what about non-petroleum based films, and when will that be available here domestically?
Good question. So, and I'll apologize, but I'll speak commercially here from Raflatac. We do have a product available now. We do have a material that's out in the market. We've been trialing it. We're moving toward commercial production as well as commercial availability in the very near future. And that's, as Raflatac, that's our forest film line.
Okay, great. Do you see any issues with recycled content supply in the future?
Great question. And so far, no. That's something we do watch real closely. We've got some good recycling partners out there. There's a couple of recycle mills that take the material in and then they're supplying it to the wide swath of the paper industry. There's a couple that do it internally as well, but right now it's actually a collection. And so the more we can do to collect materials, whether it's office waste or whether it's liner in the label facilities, the more we can do to collect, the more raw material there is available, and that keeps speeding the process.
Is the collection increasing or decreasing, or is there any kind of measure on how the world is doing with collection? Is it growing or shrinking?
So I'll speak from the label side. From the label side, I'll say it's increasing, but I think we all should be embarrassed to say that that's starting from a really low number. So, we're well above where we once were, but we started from zero. So we're making progress, and I think on the label side, we've got some good collection efforts going throughout the industry, and on the consumer side, I'd say it's hit or miss.
Okay. Is there any work being done on finding alternatives to silicone release liners?
Good question. So there's always work going on in that regard. There are other options out there that folks have looked at, and it really just comes down to cost and performance. The great thing about silicone is, if you want to run a bottling line at super high speeds, silicone is a very repeatable surface to get a release from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. What methods do you use or recommend to those converters that have customers requesting compostable PS labels?
Good question. We get the compostable question quite often, but when we explore that a bit further, sometimes they really do need compostable, sometimes they don't. There's some work going on in that space. I can't say I'm not fully knowledgeable in what's out there and where we're going with it, but that is an ongoing request and an ongoing topic. But what I'll say is that when you get the compostable request, ask a few more questions and just make sure compostable is really what they're after.
Okay. Do you see any issue? Let's see. I'm sorry, that's already asked that one. Do you have any particular successes or failures as you have launched sustainable products?
Good question. So we have had some good successes. We've had some successes with some big brands that have started small and are going bigger. We've had some successes with some sustainable laser products that I didn't mention those in the previous list, but folks that really wanted a sustainable story, we've had some laser products that we've put out in the industry that have really gotten some high accolades there. We do have some successes going on now with the label loop product I mentioned earlier, which is label or liner collection, going through the recycle process, being made into a semi-gloss, and then coming back to a converter. So that's a real exciting success story to be able to show a true closed loop.
Okay. Any particular learnings with adhesives as it relates to sustainable products?
Good question. So adhesives are an area that I'll be frank from the Raflatac side, and I think I can speak on behalf of the industry here. Adhesives are still an area where we need to do some work to make the adhesives truly recyclable, truly completely recyclable through the process. We still have some work to do there, and I'm pretty excited about where we at Raflatac are headed. We've got some nice innovations coming. We do have some environmentally benign adhesives, what that means is they're screenable, they can be removed from the process. But we've got some other innovations that are on the horizon that we're pretty excited about, and I know that's a bit of a chase for a lot of the industry is improving the environmental and the recycle profile for the adhesives offered.
Okay. What challenges or differences can we expect with ink adhesion and or with heavy ink laydown?
Good question. So far we haven't had any challenges there. We've taken some of the sustainable products and printed with 8 and 12 colors and, full printing and really put them through the rigors, and they've done well. So, so far so good, but I always encourage that you work together with your substrate supplier, you pick the right substrate, and then you run trial material and make sure.
Okay, so you would expect some kind of calibration between if you were trying to run a job that was not on a sustainable substrate and you switched to a sustainable substrate, you would need to go through the testing process and validate and maybe make some adjustments and analyses and things like that, right?
For sure, but I would say though that even if you're changing from substrate supplier A to substrate supplier B, you should do that same homework. It's everybody's sizing is a little different, everybody's ink holdout's behaves a bit different, and it's important that we give it a quick test and make sure of ourselves.
Okay. Let's see, last question. I don't see any more coming in. So with the thinner materials, what are the potential downstream challenges, i.e. in dispensing, for example?
Another great question. So I will say, so far so good. We've run these on some fairly complicated labeling lines, and they've done fine. One of the failures in sustainable labeling, let's say 5 years ago, was we really gave up some of the substrates really gave up some properties. So when you think about dispensing, you're thinking about stiffness, you're thinking about strength, you're thinking about curl in some cases. And I think if you go back a few years in the industry, we gave up some properties to be able to get to a sustainable place. Where we've come back at Raflatac, and a big shout out to our suppliers and our vendors, we've worked with them over a period of several years to develop a sustainable product line that really isn't giving up a whole lot. And if there are gives in the process, we make those known, and we make sure that it's clear to everyone that you can expect a difference from, stiffness or whatever the property might be.
Right. Okay. Don't see any more questions. If you have any, please put them in the box here. We'll continue to ask them. Otherwise, you can certainly reach out to Jeff directly and ask anything else that comes up. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. You did a great job. For the rest of the group, I want to let you know that we are continuing this series. We'll be doing it monthly. We are set up for a few more themes. We'll revisit some optimization topics, and then we have some more innovations to talk about as well. But we are also soliciting help of the membership. If you have some ideas of what you'd like to hear us talk about, or get some experts to provide some more insight to, please let us know so that we can add them into the mix here. But we'll be seeing you again in February on another topic. Otherwise, we're a little bit behind, a little bit early here, but I think we're good. I still don't see any new questions, so I think we're good to go. Thanks again, Jeff. Really appreciate it, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Doug. Enjoyed it.